All right, so hey, let's welcome everyone to another Anger Management Sports Talk Show. Going to have to change the name because, again, look, we got Aaron involved, and it looks like Aaron's going to be here for the long haul. So I can't say it's the Sasha D. Robinson Sports Talk Show because I'm not going to leave my boy out of this. We bring insights to talking sports and trying to keep sports the anger down to a minimum. Keyword is trying. How are you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing good, sir. I'm doing good, sir. There's so much going on, so much to talk about, so much drama, so much BS, so much moving around and stuff and everything. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about and dive into.
Yeah, there is a lot that's going on from, USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten, which again, we're gonna go down that rabbit hole. The NFL training camps, they're starting to report. The Bills and the Raiders are reported as early as July 28th. The latest is going to be the 26th. But one thing I want to tell you, Aaron, and I wanted to talk about this, but I know that we all had a lot of stuff going on when I came back from DC. First, I got COVID, and then you ran into some issues, and then a lot of stuff just started happening. We hadn't been able to have a show. I wanted to talk, some basketball, ask you some questions, but we got wrapped up. So another time, another date, we can maybe we'll just bring that up. No, we'll talk
Yeah,
that when basketball season starts.
yes,
We
sir.
go there. But I wanted to say this because you told me that around the time when when the Redskins, yeah, we're gonna say the Redskins, the Washington Redskins. I'm sorry, the Commanders and Rollo.
Uh,
She's from the DMV area, and she hates the name the Commanders. But I
Such
had
a lazy name.
it is a lazy name. But I went by RFK Stadium, and something. Even though I didn't go in there, I can definitely feel the pageantry and just from there. Even though the stadium looks worn down, but just tell me, you said that you were there when they won in '92, and the way how the team looked. I argued with you saying, man, the 49ers were hot, and if they would have made the playoffs that year, because they missed the playoffs. But I'm like,
Yeah,
man, I think the 49ers would have beaten the Redskins. And you said, no, they wouldn't. There's no way they were going to beat the Redskins.
there was no way that San Francisco would have beaten Washington that year. Washington that year finished 14-2. That team, just for that one year, they were one of the most dominant teams that never get talked about as Super Bowl champions. That
Mhm.
team, Mark Rippon basically woke up and all the former football quarterbacks from back in the day all basically he basically pulled a Monstar moment and took their football talents and they said that the football gods said this can only last 1 year. 1 year. Once this year is over with, you're done. But yeah, he basically took all their spirits away and their talent, and he went out there. And beforehand, if people don't know, Mark Rippon was just not even an average quarterback. He was slightly below average as a quarterback.
Right.
Very timid. They would just throw stupid passes, turnovers, whatever. But just all of a sudden, that year, he was a football quarterback god. That whole team, Clark and Monk, and
Sanders.
Sanders, and then you had Biner, who for the love of God, if you ever get a chance to, and you know how much we hate the four-letter network, if you ever get a chance to watch I believe it's the Cleveland documentary,
Yeah.
where it talks about all the Cleveland sports, about all the pain and everything that they suffered until,
He was
what,
last year there in Cleveland.
yeah, until what's his name, got lucky and helped the team win, the Cavaliers. But anyway. Not talking about that sport. But anyways, the fact that Biner, even to this day, in every interview, you bring up the fact that he fumbled that ball at the goal line to basically lose the game against the Broncos. The fact that he still carried that pain, even when he won a Super Bowl for Washington, he had wished that that was for Cleveland, and
Yeah.
he gets emotional and teared up the fact that he felt that he lost that game, and it's still to this day haunts him. The fact that he was actually able to get himself a Super Bowl with Washington, as a sports fan, not as a Redskins fan, but just as a sports fan, knowing that he was able to finally get one was just freaking amazing. And then the fact, like I said, Darrell Green, Charles Mann, I mean that team was just loaded that year. And then after that, and the crazy thing about it was that the next year in the draft, they picked up the Heisman Trophy winner, which was Desmond Howard. And unfortunately, he became a bust until his one year. He pulled his Monstar moment and became a kickoff god with Green Bay. But I mean, just the fact that they were able to do that, and you would think that, oh man, they got the Heisman Trophy winner. They're really going to blow up. And then they just basically fell off the face of the earth. And then the rise of the team in Dallas, for the 3 out of 4 years, disgusting. But anyways, I mean, just the fact that overall with the Redskins, their fan base, die hard fans, and throughout the 80s and even in the early 90s, they had tough teams. I mean, the fact that they were able to win 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, and the fact that they've always had a tough defense. They always had that one cornerback, Darrell Green, that was right there to anchor their secondary. And I mean, just the history of the Redskins themselves and the teams that they have, the lore, the atmosphere in the stadium. I mean, they love their Washington Redskins. And even though I wouldn't want them to, it would still be cool just to see them actually have a team that could really push them and possibly get to a Super Bowl and maybe win another one, once their owner is gone, because he's a sick bastard. But, he makes Vince McMahon look like a saint. We all know about what's going on with that if you follow wrestling. But I mean, just the fact that it would be cool as far as, football lore wise, for the Redskins to get themselves another one, because those are not just, jump on the bandwagon fans. Washington are diehard, like Cleveland Brown fans, heck, even like Detroit Lions fans, Packer fans, Niners, Dallas, not Dallas. People jump on the bandwagon. Buffalo fan, Buffalo, man, I tear up.
In snow, shirtless, to support the Bills.
Yes, Buffalo fans. Yes, those are like die hard fans. They live, they breathe, they breathe, and they bleed their team colors. And it's a beautiful thing as far as with the history of the Redskins. But it's sad as far as the fact that they lost their name. They are where they are right now. They have was it Dan Snyder?
Yeah,
Dan Snyder being their owner, and just not caring. All these basically there, he has the team held hostage to collect a paycheck. And it's sad to see, because that's a storied organization that should be ran the right way and be able to provide and do things, the Washington Redskin way. Fuck this commander name. They are the Washington Redskins. They need an owner. And I hate to say it, but just like with Dallas, once Jerry Jones is gone, you'll see a difference in that organization. The way that they've currently ran since Jimmy Johnson and that core team left. Once you get an owner that can really run that team and that's passionate about football and wanting to win, then that would happen. But unfortunately for Washington, until Snyder is gone, they're going to be forever just go by what they were instead of who they could be and who they should be.
True. Well, this is the thing. And it's sad because you're speaking the truth. A lot of people say this about Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. He just sits up in that owner's box and just looks pretty. He lets Emperor Palpatine or he let him run the organization, and he sits there and Bill Belichick, I'm sorry guys, he lets Bill Belichick coach, general GM. He runs the organization, He doesn't sit there and interfere. He doesn't tell Bill, this is who you should draft, this is who we need on our team, and whatever. And I mean, like let's say like the Antonio Brown situation, when Antonio Brown got there, of course, I believe Robert Kraft wanted him. But then the moment it got out of hand, he had to let him go. It wasn't like, okay, well, we're going to keep you still. We're going to suspend you. No, we're looking at the team. We're not looking at keeping you on our team just because of your name.
Yep, exactly.
So that's where, again, like you said, the thing about with Dan Snyder, I've been wondering for the longest, what is with this organization? It's like they just put players together and just say, go out there and field it. Yeah, they may have made the playoffs a couple of times. And, like the back end, what was it in 20 when they made the playoffs with Alex Smith being there? I'm still surprised that they made it. I'm trying to figure out how they made the playoffs. But again, did I realize they were playing in a crappy ass division? Exactly. Go figures,
Yeah.
So it's like, this year, I'm trying to figure out what are they going to do now. Yeah, they went out and they traded for Carson Wentz, and I mean, it just doesn't have that feel, that lore like when we were growing up. And yeah, call me an old fogey, and I'm going to go back to being called an old fogey later on. But the Washington Redskins, Commander football team, whatever the hell we want to name them, they were a feared organization. You knew what they were about. They were about championships. Joe Gibbs made them, put them out there. We can talk about the history and the players that they had on there. It's a shame that it took Art Monk too freaking long to get into the damn Hall of Fame. And
sad.
And and I have to look at it. Gary Clark didn't get in either, right?
No.
Gary Clark's on it. We're not going to say anything about Ricky Sanders. He didn't. I don't think he deserved. He was a good player, but he's not. But he doesn't deserve to get in there. You said three different quarterbacks got who led them: Joe Theismann, Doug Williams, Mark Rippon.
Yes, sir.
And if I recall, because again, around the time I started watching football, it wasn't when Joe Theismann won, so I had to go back and watch certain games. But I think he owned that game against the Dolphins, right, in the Super Bowl.
Yep, and the fact that the year that Theismann won the Super Bowl, and granted, yes, it was a strike shortened season.
Right.
Their kicker won the freaking MVP, which will never happen in NFL ever again. I'm sorry. If Adam Vinatieri didn't win an MVP, that'll never happen again. A freaking kicker who was perfect that whole year winning the NFL MVP.
That's something that nobody ever talks about.
Nope.
And like you said, and now I think about it, even though that Mark Rippon's numbers, because I know he threw 27 touchdowns, but again, think about it. Back in 1992, that's a lot of touchdowns. This isn't like now where you're throwing 45 touchdowns and that's a year. No. Mark Rippon, if you go back and look at those highlights, Mark Rippon was on point. It wasn't like he was just sitting there and there were blown coverages. No, I'm watching Art Monk, Gary Clark, Ricky Sanders blowing past people, and he's sending the ball 50, 60 yards in stride. Yes. The game against the Falcons, the regular season game against the Falcons, he ate up that secondary. And you have to remember, the Falcons had a pretty good secondary that year, led by Deion Sanders, Charles Dimry,
Brian Jordan,
and Tim McKyer. They had a good secondary, and I believe they put up over 50 against the Falcons.
That Falcons team wasn't. I mean, it was talented, but they got too caught up in the hype. That was the time when they were having celebrities come down there, MC Hammer and Vander Holyfield. It was just, and you had, Jerry Glanville, just having the time of his life. But that team wasn't, that team wasn't ready. That team was not ready at all to go up against that juggernaut with Washington that year.
So I mean, I'm just going to say like this. I'm going to tell everybody, know your football history. You guys can just say stadiums are just stadiums. And, yeah, this is where people play. But you know something? Some of these stadiums they have history behind it, and you can feel that lore there. You know, one stadium that I wish I could have been able to go to. Actually, I'm gonna say two, and you're gonna be like, really? One, I wish I could have went to a Texas Stadium game.
Okay.
What I hate the Cowboys with the passion, but that was a historic stadium. Another
Hmm.
one is Candlestick. Again,
Oh
I'll never go
man.
there. You know, they're historic. They are there. And you know what? I need to hurry up and get up to Rich Stadium or New Era Stadium before they tear that down because the Bills are going to be opening a new one. I mean,
Yep.
I want to. These are historic stadiums. We know we never went to Dolphin Stadium or Pro Player Stadium, whatever it's called.
Hmm.
But these are historic stadiums, and just get the lore of that. But
Hmm.
Aaron, I'm going to say like this: 2000, there's going to be the NFL Hall of Fame enshrinement that's going to be inducted next week. I believe it's going to be on the 4th. Am I right? The 4th, and then they're going to have the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
And then I was looking, and what do you think about the the enshrinees who are going to be enshrined? How do you feel about this? Do you think that this is a deserving year, or is it like the last years where they just feel like they're just putting people in there?
Um, I mean, this year, I'm actually pulling up the list really quick. If you
Well, I
already
can tell
have
you
it
while you're
up,
looking,
you
while
can
you're
tell me
looking.
off the top of your
Dave
head.
Vermeil, Tony Boselli, Sam Mills, Richard Seymour, Cliff Branch, Art McNally, and Bryant Young.
Okay. I mean, the class is it's not name heavy this year compared to other years where you would have, you would have at least two to three people where you're just like, man, yes, these are they deserve to go into the Hall of Fame. They really, really deserve to go to the Hall of Fame. I mean, this year, I will say one person I am hugely surprised that he's getting in this year
Richard Seymour.
is not necessarily Richard Seymour. Richard Seymour, you can make a case for
Yeah.
as far as to get in there. Tony Baselli is the one where I'm kind of like, mm,
Oh,
Hall of
okay. I gotta hear
Fame,
this.
Hall of Fame. I mean, he was, and I do apologize, God. I live right by the train tracks, so I got a train right behind me.
I gotta
So,
hear this. You gotta tell me.
but yeah, Tony Baselli. I mean, I would say he was a good offensive lineman throughout his career with Jacksonville.
Yeah.
But I don't and I mean they had some amazing teams. I mean the two 11 and 5 years, and then also the 14-2 year.
Mhm.
Um, where their only losses were against the Tennessee
All three times.
all three times, even in the AFC Championship game. But I mean that team was dominant. But I mean, as far as for him, I honestly don't believe he had a Hall of Fame career. He very, very, missed quite a few
He
games.
missed quite a few games.
He missed quite a bit. He wasn't now if he was played every game, 16 games out of 16 plus the playoffs every year, different story. But he
Right.
was and I know a lot of people can be like, well, can't you make that case about Terrell Davis? No, Terrell Davis, for his short amount of time, like a Gale Sayers, made his mark in the NFL. He was top, you could put him top three, top five players in the league during his playing days before he got injured and was forced to retire. Like a Gale
Right.
Sayers. Gale Sayers had a very short, amount of, time playing, but that short amount of time, he was a dominant player. Terrell Davis, dominant player. Tony Baselli, I mean, he was up there as one of the top offensive linemen throughout his time, but he only played 7 seasons. He was
Mhm.
injured quite a bit,
He
and then of
did miss quite
course,
a few times.
yeah, and then when Houston, when they finally got the Texans, He was their first pick, and then injury.
He didn't really play there either.
He hardly played for them. So, I mean, with him, I think he was. I don't think. I don't. Well, I'll be honest. I don't believe he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Yeah, I honestly don't believe so. Like I said, like with Richard Seymour, I could see, I could see him being you know, being in the Hall of Fame. He earned his, he earned his respect, and I wouldn't say he was dominant also, but he was a key part for New England during their Super Bowl, winning their Super Bowls, and then also he went to Oakland, and he did, he was very serviceable until the time that he retired. So I
Yeah.
mean, as far as with Richard Seymour, okay, I could see that. Sam Mills was one of those. He was extremely underrated because when he came in the '80s playing, I mean, of course, the Saints they had it was Sam Mills and they had Swilling and then
Patrick Swilling, Ricky
Patrick Swilling,
Jackson, and Ron
Ricky
Johnson.
Jackson. He was part of that crew, and I know,
On patrol.
I know with a lot of people with the Saints, it's all about Drew Brees, Drew Brees, Drew Brees. If you look at those Saint teams in the late '80s and early '90s, if they had a quarterback, and if they had a decent quarterback during those times, and I'm not talking about no, some, Jim Everett during his time there,
Oh,
or
they had
or
Bobby.
Bobby Habert. No, 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 he was soft. Bobby Habert, or whatever. I know it's French. I can't pronounce it
Avery.
right. Habert, but no. During
They
those
had John
times, no.
Fourcade. Hold up. They also had Steve Walsh.
Steve, no, those were
I'm just throwing
certified
out names right
backups.
now.
Yeah, they had certified backups. But no, Sam Mills was part of a linebacking core that was up there in the tough NFC at that time when you had, of course, the Giants in their linebacking core, with Banks and Taylor. And then you had, of course, with Washington, you had the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles more of a defensive line, but still,
Yeah.
Sam Mills was a key part with the New Orleans defense, but there was so much defensive presence during the late '80s, early '90s, back at the time when the NFC was the dominant conference. So, I mean, that whole linebacking core for the Saints honestly should be in the Hall of Fame. If I could have a vote, they'd be like, Sam Mills. No, I want the whole New
On
Orleans
patrol.
linebacking core. I want them all to go in as one crew because if they had it's sad that defense was wasted during that time as far as with the New Orleans Saints offense. And then like with Leroy Butler is kind of one of another, you know, maybe, but if he wasn't going into the Hall of Fame, it's all right. You know, he was, of course, part of Green Bay's resurgence.
Yeah.
Back into the league when Brett Favre wanted to go ahead and get 3 straight MVP awards, and he became a dominant quarterback those 3, during that time frame.
Thanks to
But
drugs, alcohol. Yes.
yes, a lot of drinking and everything like that, but he could feel no pain, and
Mhm.
he go ahead and get Green Bay to back-to-back Super Bowls. But Leroy Butler, along with Reggie White, they were pinnacle defensive leaders for that team. And during that time frame, Leroy Butler was, the hard hitting safety for the Green Bay Packers. He was the leader, like I said, along with Reggie White for that defense. So I do commend him for that, and I can understand, throughout the period because he was drafted in the '90s. It took him a moment to come around, but then when it came to the mid '90s, when Green Bay when they finally were able to get past Dallas and everything, as far as to be the dominant team in the NFC for those 2 years, you could see him growing, becoming more of a hard hitter, being a smart defender, getting interceptions. He became, one of the top safeties in the league. So I can understand why, you could put him into consideration, but again, to me, Leroy Butler's he's one of those iffy, type of picks. Not necessarily, someone I would be like, you know what, who needs to be in the Hall of Fame that's not top 10 list, number whatever number, Leroy Butler. Why is he not in the Hall of Fame? What the hell is wrong with you, NFL? I wouldn't make that case for Leroy Butler, but he's kind of like, you know what, this is kind of like an NBA Hall of Fame pick. You know what? You had a good career. Not great, not amazing. You had a very good career. You know what? You made some Pro Bowls. You're part of the All Decade team, which is another strong quality. He is part of the All Decade team for the '90s. So yeah, we could put you in there, but he's only had about 4 Pro Bowls. So yeah, we'll put you in the Hall of Fame. We don't have anybody else. We could slide you in. But yeah, that's my feeling towards him with that.
Before you continue, there's one person I will say this right now. I'm going to say this to the day I die. There's one person who is not in the Hall of Fame, and I don't know why the selection committee keeps having him drop, and that's Sterling Sharp.
That's still he was another one that had a Terrell Davis / Gale Sayer type of period.
But numbers speak for themselves. No matter what, yeah, you could say, yeah, he had a short year because of his injury, that spinal injury that he got. But look at what his numbers said from those times that he was in there. It's like just like you said with Terrell Davis, when he was on, and injuries cut it short. Sterling Sharp also all pros. He broke his own receiving record, reception record, that he set back to back. And this was in a time when catching 100 receptions was not common. I believe Jerry Rice was one, Steve Largent was another, and then Sterling Sharp did it twice, and then Herman Moore broke his record. It's like I'm going to keep saying this. Sterling Sharp needs to go into the Hall of Fame. What is with you guys? Why is he not in there?
Exactly. Okay, and check this out. From 88 to 94, this man had 500. Excuse me, gotta clean off the old Stux mod. 595 receptions for 8,134 yards, and get this, 65 touchdowns. So you're telling me this man in 6 years had 65 touchdowns, had 55 catches his rookie year, only a touchdown. And these were before Brett Favre became a great quarterback. Right. This was when Brett Favre got onto the team. He was, and I believe it was in '92. Brett Favre was not there yet. He would still just do a lot of stupid things, throwing interceptions, trying to think he could throw the ball in every little small little hole as possible. I mean, Sterling Sharp, rookie year, 55 catches for a touchdown. Next year had 90 catches, had 12 touchdowns. He had only 67 catches, but he had 1,105 yards. 6 touchdowns, 91, 69 for 961 and 4. But then 92, the 2 years that you were talking about, 108 catches, 1461 and 13 touchdowns. 93 had 112, 1274, 11 touchdowns. And then get this, in 93, but then in 94, he had 94 catches, 1,119 yards, and 18 touchdowns. It's like, how can you not have this man in the Hall of Fame? As great as he was, playing with Dan Majkowski, who unless you really watch football, you have no idea who that is. Green Bay, he was the quarterback before Brett Favre came along. Then Brett Favre came along, and like I said, young Brett Favre, just getting to Green Bay, Brett Favre was not the quarterback that you wanted leading your team, but strong arm. He can get the ball to Sterling Sharp. And for those years, Sterling Sharp, when you said Jerry Rice, who was the wide receiver after Jerry Rice or right there with Jerry Rice, it was Sterling Sharp.
Yeah, but let's get Bayless shade with Michael Irvin.
Yeah, you know what? He needs to go away. Him and Stephen A. Smith need to be gone because God bless America.
Hold that
Ugh.
thought. Hold up. The thing is that when I have my office right next to my son's room, and he's playing Apex Legends with his friends. I don't know if you hear it, but I'm hearing all the and all this yelling. So, like, okay, I gotta close this door because I don't want anybody to pick up him saying something obscene, and then I'm gonna have to be dad.
Well, yeah, at least you'll have it on tape.
Right. but before we go to the next on to the next subject, I will say that I am kind of glad as a 49er fan that Bryant Young has finally got in. I think that he was well deserved. He should have gotten in a long time ago. He was one of the bright spots again. We could say that Frank Gore was a bright spot, on a bunch of crappy teams. But when the Niners were going through their rebuilding phases, trying to figure out a new identity, Bryant Young was always that constant guy, the constant leader coming out of Notre Dame as a rookie. He was just basically put in the middle of a good defensive line with Dana Stubblefield, who was already Rookie of the Year. I mean, if I'm right, Dana Stubblefield was Rookie of the Year. Am I right or am I wrong? I have to look that up.
No, it should be Stubblefield.
Yeah,
When both of them were drafted.
yeah, because David Stubblefield came out in '93, and then they drafted Bryant Young in '94. Because and those two were teamed up, and then they went out and got Ricky Jackson and free agents. Ricky Jackson and Richard Dent to shore up that defensive line. And then you got Ken Norton. They went out and got him, and Gary Plummer drafted Lee Woodall. When it got the sign of all signees, Deion Sanders, Eric Davis, Merton Hanks. Even though we knew Merton Hanks was good, but he came onto the scene in '94, and Tim McDonald had a farm, EIEIO. That defense was set. And I mean, then you can say that they had Toy Cook. He was a corner from New Orleans. Tyrone Drakeford, who had a pretty season, but he was serviceable. You had players. I even remember that the 49ers signed Charles Mann. Going in on that run. The 49ers defense, I think a lot of people say best. That year in '94 was beat Dallas. That defense was geared to beating Dallas.
Yep, exactly.
And the offense was pretty much set. They really didn't make a lot of changes on their offense. Yeah, I know that they had Ed McCaffrey, but Ed McCaffrey didn't barely play that year. I mean, he was on the roster, but he wasn't like a big name. But I'm digressing about '94. Bryant Young, he was a constant guy, and I remember just all the time when he retired. I'm like, he should be a first ballot for Pro Bowl. To me, when it I say that now Pro Bowls are popularities, but back then, and yes, I'm an old fogey, Pro Bowls were earned. And it was something. He was a 4-time Pro Bowl, 4-time All-Pro, Defensive Rookie of the Year, the Super Bowl champion, and again, he was a threat.
Also, Defensive Player of the Year in '97.
I mean, it took a long time. Like, why is it that it took so long to put Big Bryant Young into the Hall of Fame? I watched a lot of players, and they've gotten in. And I don't want to take away their merits. But sometimes I just wonder, what is it with the Hall of Fame committee? Is this like a popularity contest? Like you like, oh, I think this would be a good storyline. Let's go ahead and add this guy in here. Instead of just saying, hey, these guys are deserving. Bryant Young should have went in a long time ago. You said it best. Sam Mills should have went in a long time ago. I hate the New Orleans Saints, but the Dome Patrol is the greatest linebacking core of all time, and they were wasted in a crappy ass team with the New Orleans Saints. You had four monsters, and they wasted them. And Pat Swilling went to Detroit. He went away. But Sam Mills, when he went to Carolina, he was still a threat in Carolina. Ricky Jackson, he was serviceable in San Francisco. Von Johnson, I didn't hear from him after everybody left. But Sam Mills, I just felt like he should have gotten in a long time ago. Now I'm looking at this. I'm saying Dick Vermeil, he was an okay coach. He lucked into, probably one of the greatest teams of all time, of the greatest show on turf.
That was a movie team right there.
Say what you want. He lucked into it. I'm over here trying to think about his career. Yeah, they led the Philadelphia Eagles into a Super Bowl, but they got blasted by the Raiders.
That was not a good Philadelphia team, though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that gets you into the Hall of Fame, but getting that Philadelphia Eagles team to the Super Bowl, that was kind of like how, you could say a team like that Giant team that got blasted by the Broncos. That team shouldn't have been in the Super Bowl. Or like the New England Patriots in '85 getting blasted by the Bears. That team, there should have been no way that team got to the Super Bowl, but they were there.
What team are you talking about got blasted by the Broncos? I'm over here thinking about this. I'm over here looking, like you said, Giant team that got blasted by the Broncos. I'm like, what Broncos team? What Giant team?
I'm sorry. And it may not have been the Broncos. The Kerry Collins.
You're talking about when they got blasted by the Ravens.
The Ravens, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Broncos. It started with the B, damn it. But yeah.
I'm sitting here when you said that, I'm like, I don't recall them getting blasted by the Broncos. As a matter of fact, Phil Simms only had 2 incompletions that game, and he wrong
team. And I also made a mistake. Let me call it out real quick. Mm-hmm. It was Stubblefield that won the '97 Defensive Player of the Year award, not Brian Young. So that was my fault on.
Because Dana Stubblefield left after he won Rookie of the Year. Didn't he go to Washington that next year?
No, he left after the Defensive Player of the Year.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he pretty much went to Washington after that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, with Dick Vermeil, him getting that Philadelphia Eagle team, that was pretty much one of those, participation trophy, glad that you made it, because there's no way. Yeah, exactly. So I could give him props for doing that. And then with the Rams, come on, no one could have ever, I don't care if you were a Rams fan, predicted about, those things occurring. For Collins, was it Collins?
Kurt Warner.
No, the quarterback that got injured.
Trent Green.
Okay. So it's Trent Green that gets injured in the preseason. And then you're having Kurt Warner, nobody knows who the heck he is. And for him to have an MVP season and for them to have won the Super Bowl that year, that you couldn't have called that. Nobody could have called that. That was nobody. If you're going to Vegas to bet money, no one was betting on the Rams to win the Super Bowl that year. You could have bet $1, and you probably would have came back a millionaire if you had put anything on the Rams that year. But I mean, that was bottom 5 worst teams in the league type teams. And then for even with the talent that they had, I mean, with Falk and with Holt and everything, but I mean, Kurt Warner was just the perfect core. He basically, basically morphed into, the MVP just out of nowhere. That was another Monstar moment. I'm sorry. That shit don't happen. You don't go bag groceries and then, hey, you want to, try out, for the team? Sure, why not? Okay, I made the team. Oh, you made it to backup quarterback. Oh, the starting quarterback, he's out, and he's out for the year. Who are the free agent quarterbacks? Nah. So Kurt, think you could do this? Learn this, playbook. Just hand it off to Marshall Faulk 20 to 25 times. He should be able to do something. And then all of a sudden, I won the MVP. Our team is top 5 in the defense. We're going to the Super Bowl. We win the Super Bowl by 1 yard, but that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, they win the Super Bowl. Nobody. So, I could give him some props for that. I can't give him full props because that doesn't happen. That does not happen. That season, it's just kind of like you just shake your head and can you believe that this team just won a Super Bowl just out of nowhere?
Right.
Out of nowhere. A quarterback who was forever on the practice squad, made a few backups, bagging groceries, and you're going to win the Super Bowl and the MVP. No.
Hey, Aaron, Aaron, when you say this, I keep thinking about this How I Met Your Mother episode when they for Thanksgiving when Ted and Robin went to try to volunteer at a homeless shelter for Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see Barney, he's the volunteer, like, hey Barney, let us sub in and let us go ahead and do the mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes, really? Okay, hello, NFL. Want to play quarterback today? And then he gets
that was what happened to Kurt Warner. That is what happened to Kurt Warner. Because, no.
And you're going to have to, because you know what? You're saying a Monstar moment. You're going to have to break it down. Are we talking about Monstar from Silverhawks or Monstar from Space Jams?
It was Space Jams. The decent Space Jam movie.
Okay, because I was thinking about Moon Star Limbo. Give me the mic.
No, nobody's gonna know that, but there's very few. Monstars, you're like, okay, I understand that because but Dick Vermeil again, he's kind of one of those. Would have been my first, second, third, maybe not even fourth pick, but he's gotten his Super Bowl. He got Philadelphia there, won with the Rams. He kept that Kansas City team there, as one of the top teams in the league, for the time that he had coached. So you can't say he had an above average coaching career. You wouldn't say that he's one of the great coaches in NFL history, but I mean, he's getting into the Hall of Fame, so you're gonna have to, kind of pull a Roman Reigns and acknowledge me type thing. But he's there, so he wouldn't be, on my list. But I mean, you can't knock exactly, what he accomplished during his coaching career.
Right. Well, I'm looking at this, and I'm just trying, and we brought up. I see that. Dick Vermeil is in there, is in the Hall of Fame, and again, this is not a knock on there. I just wouldn't put certain players in there, but or coaches. But one coach that is not in the Hall of Fame, and this is not me just saying because I'm a Niner fan. And again, everybody knows I'm a diehard Niner fan. You are too.
Yes,
but
sir.
George Seifert, his resume speaks more of why am I not in the Hall of Fame over Dick Vermeil. So
so? See, that one as a Niner fan, I would kind of question.
The 5-time Super Bowl champion. He won 2 as a head coach. George Seifert.
That's right. That is correct. But they don't, the one thing I have noticed, and sorry to kind of sidetrack here, one thing that I do notice is that they don't really value winning Super Bowl rings as a coordinator. I've noticed that. When you talk about coaches. So, I mean, I don't know what the Hall of Fame's credentials when it comes to, you won
Well, then
10,
he's a two-time.
10 Super Bowls as a coordinator. But were you really coaching the offense or the defense or the special teams? Are you really that talented? So
Well, I mean,
I don't know, but you know,
well, then let's just say then he's a two-time Super Bowl winning head coach. They've won then he's like one, two, three, four, five, six times they've won the division winner.
hmm.
He has an impressive win loss record when he was with the Niners and as well as with Carolina.
Oh, with Carolina, he did
Yes.
the bad because when he left San Francisco, he had the highest winning percentage
Hmm.
in NFL history as a coach. And
Yes.
then for whatever reason, he went to Carolina, and see maybe that might be the reason why they kind of frown on that is because again, when he went to Carolina, he was that those teams were
They were
horrible.
horrible.
They were horrible. Versus you look at someone like a Dick Vermeil. Granted, I don't know off the top of my head what their record was during that time period, but he did get that team to a Super Bowl. He won one with St. Louis, and then with the Chiefs again. Granted they never went to the Super Bowl, but he had that team as when you talked about one of the top 3 or 4 AFC teams throughout that time period.
Hmm.
Kansas City was there, even though the Raiders were kind of floundering and stuff like that after they went to the Super Bowl. But he always had that team in contention. So in each spot, he did a miracle in Philadelphia, one in St. Louis, kept that team relevant or at least top of the league in Kansas City. So you could say throughout those 3 stops, he was successful. Versus, with Seifert, granted, he won his Super Bowls, but that was basically like if they said, Sasha, you want to go ahead and Phil Jackson's going to take a break this year. You want to go ahead and coach the 92 Bulls, with Jordan and Pippen. All you have to do is stand there, man. You're going to get yourself
Hey,
a
Mike,
ring.
pass Mike the ball.
Hey, just give it to Mike. That's all you have to do. So, I mean, that Rams team, granted, I mean, sorry, not the Rams. With San Francisco, I mean, he was given that Niner team. So, I mean, that first year, and then of course when he won in '94, I mean, come on. Come on. I could find a 3-year-old that could have put on a headset and looked cute on the sideline, and that team was winning. That team's winning the Super Bowl. Give the coach a sippy cup. We're up big today. We're up big.
No,
Yeah, exactly. So they were winning the Super Bowl that year. I'm not knocking as far as with George Seifert's accomplishments as a coach and as a coordinator, but I just feel that in this argument, I could see Dick Vermeil's point as far as him making a case. It was like choose these 2 coaches to go into the Hall of Fame. Doing some deep diving, I could say, okay, Dick Vermeil, over Seifert, only because of the fact that, granted, yeah, he coached this team to 2 Super Bowls, but those were 2 insanely. I mean, took over for Bill Walsh. That team was pretty much the same.
they were
That
set.
team,
They
yeah,
needed
they
a coach.
yeah, we were set up for a 3-peat. Thanks, Roger Craig. But so we were set up for that, and then finally that '94 team, Steve Young getting pissed off finally, which is still the funniest thing in the world to ever see Steve Young mad or whatever.
I can't
You
imagine
can't
him
take him
cussing.
seriously.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
He seems like he seems like the type that would be like, "Oh, freaking well! I can't believe you fucking did this." I can't imagine.
Watch American Game
I
1994.
saw.
Yeah,
I know he was
you've
cussing
seen
up
it. Yeah. So, and then of course that team was insanely talented. Again, not knocking what George Seifert did, but if you want to look at the overall picture, it's like, you know what, Dick Vermeil, I could put him in for his accomplishments versus Seifert's. And this coming from a Niners fan. But I mean, if I really had to dig deep and look into it, it's like, okay, Dick Vermeil,
Okay.
I'll give you the nod.
The NFL training camps are opening up. Like I said, they like last week the Bills and the Raiders were the first team to have their rookies report on the 18th, and now then all teams are going to be reporting. I know teams are reporting as early as like today. The latest teams are going to be reporting by the 26th. So that will be officially everyone, all NFL teams will be reporting, and we can rest assured to say around the corner, football season is back.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
what? So despite anything about this, what do you have any surprises or anything that you're looking forward for this upcoming season? Because I don't want to say like, okay, well, this is going to be the surprise team or this because again, we haven't gotten that far yet. But
Yeah.
do you have any like surprises or anything expectations that you're looking forward to for this upcoming year?
I'll start off in the AFC, and I will say, like, starting off in the AFC East real quick. To me, Buffalo, their goal beat Kansas City. Let's get to the Super Bowl. You ain't got to really dig too deep into that. With the Miami Dolphins, this is it for you, Tua. With the talent that you have around you, if you can't get the ball to Tyreek Hill at least 110, 120, if he stays healthy, and with the running back by committee that they can do on that team this year, and I'm not going to go super detailed with the players. I'm pretty sure we can, really go into digging deep into, the divisions and conferences and, our picks to see who can,
Right.
win it all. Pretty much San Francisco, yay. But I honestly think that for the Dolphins, this is it for Tua. And if he can't really, succeed with what the toys that he has around him, and if, granted, of course, it depends on the offensive line, in 2 years, he's done if he doesn't succeed. He'll be a forever backup at that. So I think Miami will be a team to watch. I mean, you can't not say that. And granted, there are teams that have won the free agent, award for the off season, and then, basically putting it all together is a different story. But with Miami, they'll be a team to watch. The Jets are kind of, you
I still think
you
that
don't you know
building stage right now.
yeah, they're still in the rebuilding stage, and it'll be interesting to see what they'll do overall. Of course, Zach Wilson, it just depends on how he does this year. And then as far as with that, with the Bills, Dolphins, Jets, and
The Patriots,
the
yeah.
Patriots, the evil empire, the Patriots, with them, and granted, and I know I was one of the people, you were one of the people that did not want old Mackie boy from Alabama to be drafted onto the 49ers.
Yeah.
But I think that with the evil empire, he basically has his new apprentice. As far as with Mac Jones, he fits the Patriot system. He
Mm-hmm.
he fits that. They have, with Bill Belichick, no matter who he signs players, not always with the sexiest names, and even players that do become all pro bowlers. He's
Yeah.
not afraid to look at their contract and be like, you know what? Nope, I could get a player that's cheaper to replace you, and they'll get to that level in a couple of years. And then same thing, basically like clockwork, in and out, in and out, in and out. But he gets the players to fit his system. Now, I honestly think that I know the AFC West gets talked about as the toughest division, looking at them from up and down. But I think the AFC East will be right there, neck and neck. Again, depending on how the Jets do, those three teams, you could easily make a case for them winning the division, where, of course,
Yeah.
Buffalo is the favorite. But I mean, with the Dolphins and with the Patriots, either one of them could be right there. And, of course, with the Patriots, they always give Buffalo trouble. Of course, when they had Brady, of course, Buffalo wasn't going to win. But I mean, now even still. So those three teams are three teams to look at. As far as with the other divisions, other teams, the Colts, that's another thing as far as, and I wish San Francisco would have made a run at Matt Ryan or get Jimmy G out, trade him for Matt Ryan. Because I honestly think that I know that Matt Ryan didn't win the Super Bowl with Atlanta, but with the team that they have now, all he has to do is game manage and not try to do too much. And I think the Colts are going to bounce back because of the fact that they missed the playoffs. They lost to Jacksonville at the very last game, which they should have easily won that game.
Should have won easy.
Yeah, but with the Colts defense, the Colts is not a sexy team that people will talk about, but with the Colts defense, with Taylor, Matt Ryan is someone that's not going to lose you so many games. He's not going to throw 4 or 5 picks, but he can get the ball to the receivers. He can, he can game manage, and he can. I really think that the Colts will make a strong case as one of the top 3 teams in the AFC this year. I honestly believe that. I think Wentz really messed it up. Had a lot of hope for Carson Wentz, but he basically got that team out of the playoffs. Honestly, as far as with the Colts, the Ravens, I know people want to jump on Lamar Jackson and really are waiting for him to take that next step. I'll go ahead and say this: I honestly believe that Lamar Jackson is extremely overrated in a sense. I mean, granted, yeah, he could rush you 1,000, for 1,000 yards now, but we know about the Cunninghams, we know about the Vicks, we know about how Vince Young, when he came into the league, and he was how he was for a couple of years until they realized this fool cannot be a quarterback. He can't make the right type of throws. So, let's go ahead and clog up the line and force him to throw, and we saw what happened.
Right.
Of course, other things. But I honestly believe that with Lamar Jackson, he's wasting his talent as far as for the Ravens as a quarterback. Because, he, like I said, he can run all day. All it takes is one good hit. And then when he's forced to be a pocket passer, is he going to have like that one type of year that Randall Cunningham had with Minnesota and be a quarterback? But then again, that team was a cheat code. But I mean, I think that with the Ravens, I think that they will be below average this year. I don't think. I mean, they'll be in the hunt for the wild card, but they'll be below average. Of course, defending AFC champions, which is weird as hell to say, the Cincinnati freaking Bengals. I can't unless that offensive line fails them, and the defense, the secondary, which still needs to really, really, really push themselves. Not saying that they were bad last year, but they could be better. And I think that Cincinnati will be one of the teams that will be pushing for a spot to get to the Super Bowl again.
Right.
I don't see this team falling off. Cleveland Browns are a complete mess with this Deshaun Watson deal because you don't know how long he's going to be out. I do have Jacoby Brissett, so that'll help. And I think it just depends on the mindset of Cleveland. Either Cleveland will bomb again or Cleveland will contend. So there's that. Pittsburgh, I think that they will be average at best. I have hope for Pickett because I like them at Pittsburgh. And it's not to say that he can't go in there and do something, but with the same thing, I thought the same thing when they drafted Rudolph from Oklahoma State. I thought that he would be able to really flourish with this. I mean, he didn't get a lot of chances to play, but the times he did, he could have really showed something, but he didn't. So I think Pittsburgh would be average to death. Houston, not even going to talk about them. And Tennessee, sorry, missed out on the Titans. Titans, until Ryan
setback. I think they're going to take a setback.
Yeah, until and I had hopes for Tannehill. I would think that with this team, I thought that he was really gonna take that step, maybe have a Joe Flacco type of playoff run, with this team. But no, I think again with Tennessee they'll be average at best. I don't think that they'll really flourish like they would want to. And then of course everybody in the AFC West, pick your boys in the spar. that division is going to be, because that's going to be a stacked division. As far as with anywhere else in the NFC East, of course, with Philadelphia, it's all about Jalen Hurts and what he can do. That's another player that I put into that Lamar Jackson category. As
Mhm.
far as, until you can learn how to be a quarterback, don't just be known as the guy that can run. And with him, he's also a look at his first read. If it's not there, he's looking to get out of the
He's taking
pocket.
off.
Yeah, he's taking off. So it just depends on if Jalen Hurts wants it or not. With the Commanders, I know they traded for Carson Wentz, and I'm really hoping that Carson Wentz could get to that point before he got injured and Philadelphia won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. If I don't know if people tend to have short-term memory, but he was an MVP
He was
candidate.
MVP candidate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was at least top two, top three that year before he got injured.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that he could get to that point to get back. But with the Washington Commanders, it just depends on.
Boy,
It
I
just
hear the disdain in your voice when you say Commanders.
it just doesn't sound right. It does not sound right. But it depends on how their defense is going to play this year.
Mhm.
So I think those are the two main things: is their defense and how Wentz is going to play. As far as with the NFC North, old John Wick wannabe Aaron Rodgers pretty much lost Devontae Adams. They lost a lot of players. So it just depends as far as with them what they're going to do, if he can really pull it out of his butt and get this team, mainly to the playoffs for one. And then, we know how he's been recently in the playoffs. So there's not a lot of, is Green Bay going to make it to the Super Bowl? Detroit, nothing really to say about them. Who knows how they're going to be this year, which is pretty much. And you know what? And the funny thing about the Detroit Lions is that last year they played tough.
They
They
played tough.
put it. They played
Yeah,
tough. They couldn't get wins, but they
but they
played
played tough.
tough. They didn't give up.
Mhm.
Minnesota is just a wasted team until Kirk Cousins go, and he's never leaving that team.
Yeah.
He's basically going to retire as the owner because he's going to get every penny
He's
from
getting
them.
every penny. He's robbing them blind. Everybody can say John Wall is robbing the NBA. Nah, bro.
No, that's Kirk Cousins, and he'll let you know how much you like that, pretty much. So yeah. So, sorry, I know that was a bad pun. Please forgive me.
Yeah.
With the NFC South, the Falcons are rebuilding. I know Carolina, of course, they got old Baker Mayfield, who to me is just a smidge above. Was it the
Sam,
quarterback?
Sam
Who?
Darnold. Sam
Not
Darnold.
not even Sam Darnold. I would say old Johnny Boy from
Johnny
Texas A&M.
Manziel.
Oh, Johnny Manziel. Baker Mayfield reminds me so much attitude wise, like Johnny Manziel. When Johnny came out, of course, extremely cocky and everything like that, and of course a lot of off the field stuff. But you could tell he didn't really put in the effort. But yet, get him a first down, and he's celebrating like he won the Super Bowl. And it's like, okay, yeah, if you're gonna have to do every, it's great to be enthusiastic about the game, but when you're having to do it every single time with every little thing that you do, you have that type of attitude. You're not going to be successful until because players are going to look at you as a target and want to pop you in the mouth.
True.
So of course they got Baker Mayfield, but that team they're rebuilding. The Saints, I cannot ever trust a team that has Jameis Winston as their quarterback. I'm sorry. To me, he is the kid that wants to be cool, and he'll come into your circle, and you hear him after a while, and you're just like, no,
No,
go away, go
no,
away.
you're not saying that because you went to Florida State and you like the Canes. You're not saying that because of his school, his alma mater.
No, 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 no. That's no. I mean, I hate Florida State with a passion, but no, because you look at his body of work at Tampa Bay, and then you look at him here. he's the type of player that he's extremely talented, but he doesn't have the right football mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And with him, he very turnover prone. I mean, of course, he had his 30 for 30 season. I mean, that's proof enough as it is. And I mean, and of course, in Tampa Bay, he tries to be the motivation guy and everything like that. Get up there, trying to lead his team, and players are just like, "Shut up, man. We don't want to listen to you." So
Right.
I can't, with the Saints, they have I wouldn't say a great defense. They have a very good defense, and they have the talent to be successful and to really make a push to get to the Super Bowl, but not with Jameis Winston as your quarterback now.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course with Sean Payton being gone, it's like
They're starting
yeah,
with this one.
yeah. Tampa Bay, of course, as long as you have the football god known as Tom Brady as your quarterback, even though he could be pushing 72 this coming year.
That ESPN tell that he can play till he's 105 and Skip Bayless and they'll still be that team to beat.
Exactly. But I mean, until he really has that, okay, I'm done year, which strangely enough, I can't say that he's had. I mean, last year was, kind of, a small year. I believe he led the league in passing yards, didn't he? Last
I
year?
think so. Let me look this up. I
Yeah,
believe
because
he did.
I believe he did lead the league in passing yards last year, which is
Mhm.
still insane. Yeah, he 5,316 yards last year.
Yeah.
So and you know what? Forgive me, Mr. Brady, for saying you had a down year because you had 43 touchdowns and 12 interceptions at 72. So
Yeah.
yeah, again, and I'm sorry, that's three mistakes tonight right there. But yeah, with with the Buccaneers, I mean, they'll be there. They'll be in the mix as far as to get to the back to the Super Bowl and try to win
Right.
another one. It'll depend again as far as with their running game and their defense, but they'll be one of the teams that are up there. Arizona Cardinals, they to me they're just a fake team. Kyle Murray, even though he got paid an insane, ridiculous amount of money, he's a quarterback that will look cute at the beginning of the year, but then once he gets injured, you're gonna turn on the light bulb and be like, no, go away, go back. That's pretty much what the Cardinals. I mean, with Hopkins going to be gone for 6 games.
Yeah.
I know they got Marquise Brown. They made that trade. It's kind of you're not sure with Marquise. He could blow up and have a extraordinary year, or he could be a complete flop. And it's kind of hard to judge him when he was in Baltimore because of the fact that he had Lamar Jackson throwing to him.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, but they lost a lot in defense.
They
They're,
lost.
I mean, I'm sorry, JJ Watts. We love you when you were in your prime, but dude, it's basically take a bet on which game he's going to get injured.
Mm.
Not me, and I'm saying by game 3. I mean, you can't really take the Cardinals seriously. Of course, those damn Rams. It's that again. I'd hate to say it, but they're going to be there. I'm not saying that they're going to be in the Super Bowl, but they're going to be in the mix. As far as one of the top teams in the league, of course, it depend if Stafford doesn't get interception happy, which he has a tendency to do. And wish our secondary could have caught that. But anyways, so I'm still mad about that.
17.
Yeah, so I mean, he's still interception prone, but I mean, with him, with freaking Cooper Kupp, the best wide receiver in the league, um, with him, them signing Allen Robinson, who's basically did a basically broke it down and danced his way to California, getting out of Chicago. And I mean, with them keeping that defense, they'll be one of the top teams in the league.
Yeah.
So of course it'll be the question with them all years: can they repeat as Super Bowl champions? That's all
Mhm.
there is. Our amazing, wonderful, confusing, head scratching, frustrating San Francisco 49ers. As far as with Debo, if he'll go ahead and just keep his mind straight and play, raise up his status again for this year. Ayuk, which I really hope that they have him more involved because I honestly feel that he's just a smaller version of Debo. He's a tough wide receiver, so they need to feed him more. And then, of course, I heard that we're running back by committee this year, so we're not just going to have a straight up number one. And then, of course, with Lance, are they just going to go ahead and fully invest in him, and this will be a make it or break it a year for him? And then if he starts to slip up, then we're going to have heart attack Jimmy G back at the helm, and it's just depending on where we're at or what's going on, it's just one of those type of deals. So it's hard to tell. This team is talented enough, along with other teams, to get to the Super Bowl and win it, but it'll be the Trey Lance show pretty much. What's going to happen with that Trey Lance, and then of course there's with Debo and with Bosa getting them signed. Which I feel that if they would traded Jimmy G, they could have used that contract to at least get one of them set up and then set up the other one for the following year.
Yeah.
But that's just me, wanting to be the GM of a team that has all the talent and that I feel that they're wasting it not getting to the Super Bowl. And then with one of your favorite teams, Seattle.
Don't you dare even say this one.
But the Seattle Teabags, basically this team's rebuilding. You're not going to win with Drew Lock unless he has a Kurt Warner type of season. I'm sorry.
All-stars.
Yeah, pretty much. And with Geno Smith, I'm sorry. There's no hope in this dude. I feel that made a name in college with West Virginia, put up some numbers, but he's not someone you're ever going to really win with. Rashad Penny, I have a feeling that he's going to flourish this year.
Yeah.
Because he had some sneaky good numbers last year. Not mind blowing top of the league, but when he was healthy and playing, he was a very above average running back. But other than that, other than that, their offensive line is in question. Their defense, of course, is in question. I honestly believe that the Seattle team, they'll win probably about between 5-7, but this is just a rebuilding team. They're not of course, with Russell Wilson being gone, that pretty much you basically gave up to me. So that's pretty much my feels as far as so far, with these teams, because I know it didn't go through every single team, but I mean, just the main ones themselves as far as what you can make a story going on in training camp. But other than that, that's pretty much my thoughts on that.
Well, I'm not going to break down every team by team. I'm going to save that for another discussion. But there were two things I've been thinking about for the longest. Good friend of mine's, Titus. We had this discussion, and I was just really thinking long and hard earlier because I was watching NFL Network. And I was like, because we were talking about the Tennessee Titans, and I was like, the Titans, I really think they're going to have a setback because with the loss of A.J. Brown, you don't have a Julio Jones. That means that you're going to put everybody in the box and to stop Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. So if you stop Derrick Henry, you're going to force now you're really going to force Ryan Tannehill to throw. Last time we saw Ryan Tannehill, he was looking pretty pathetic, and so I'm like, is the Ryan Tannehill era going to be coming to an end. You
It needs
drafted
to.
Malik. You drafted Malik Willis, even though he was a third round pick. He was projected to be number one. So the Titans were lucky enough that he was still there. Do you waste his? Are you going to waste your talent? Waste him and just have him just stay behind Ryan Tannehill, even when they're losing. If they're like really losing badly, or is this going to be like the coming to the end? The door is closed on Ryan Tannehill. I was happy when Ryan Tannehill got out of Miami and went to Tennessee, and we saw what he did, and he had a resurgence. I was good because I liked Ryan Tannehill coming out of A&M because converted wide receiver, and he looked pretty good. I liked it. I thought, and he had an injury plague, first start in Miami, so I'm like, good. But yet you're starting to see this. I'm like, is this going to happen? I think it'll happen. I think that if they start off slow, his number, and we're not going to say like if they're losing, they're going to pull the reins on him. If he's looking pretty pedestrian, pretty pathetic, they're getting blasted, and he's turnover prone and everything. I think they're going to start looking at Malik Willis. I really think that he's going to start coming in. I'm intrigued by this. Also, another person who I think should be freaking gone, because we just brought this up also, and I think he is. What did Jabri Jones always say? When he goes to pick up his check, he goes in, mask down, goes at gunpoint, saying, "Give me my paycheck." It's Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is robbing the Minnesota Vikings blind.
So you don't like that?
Shit, get your money any way you can. But if I was a Vikings fan, I wouldn't like it. I mean, let me back up real quick, Vikings fans. Kirk Cousins had a pretty good year. 33 touchdowns, 7 picks. He threw for over 4,000 yards. That's pretty good. But the numbers don't matter when you're sitting here and you're not making those crucial throws, and you're not making those crucial plays down the stretch.
Yeah.
What about when you're sitting there going up against teams like Green Bay, and you're going up against when you're playing up against, you're trying to match up. I know everybody say, well, you're going up against Aaron Rodgers. He ain't going up against no damn Aaron Rodgers. He's going up against their fucking defense. But if Aaron Rodgers is sitting there throwing touchdowns, and you got weapons like Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, and you got weapons over there, go down there and match that. Give it a shootout.
Dalvin Cook.
You got Dalvin Cook, and I'm sitting here looking at certain games like when they lost to Green Bay 30. Oh, he didn't play in the game against Green Bay, week 16 when they lost 37-10. But I'm going to look at their other game. Oh, they beat Green Bay 34-31. So I'm gonna stand corrected right there. But then the next week they went to San Francisco, and they lost that game. San Francisco was on that stretch, and Kirk Cousins couldn't make that final pass down the stretch. I believe it was on the fourth down. They got the ball back. They were walking down the field with under 2 minutes. It's on the fourth down. I believe he tried to force the ball to Justin Jefferson.
Yep. They had a chance to win that game.
Yeah, and then they turn around, and then they lost to Detroit. They turned around and lost to Detroit next game, and they gave Detroit their first win of the game. Remember that? Mm-hmm. The last second they went out, they came back and won. And then I'm sitting here looking at this. They lost to the Rams 30-23. And let me see. I'm going through their wins and losses. I'm like, yeah, he's put up some good numbers, but sometimes it's just like, when it matters the most, can you make these crucial passes? Can the Kellen Mond era start?
Yeesh.
That's the same thing Titus told me. Like, man, I don't know why you like Kellen Mond. He wasn't nothing when he was in college. There was something about Kellen Mond I just didn't like. Like, what's not to like about Kellen Mond? He was,
They're not winning. I mean, granted, yeah, Kirk Cousins is basically your idea of a backup quarterback. He'll come in there and get you a few good games, but you have him as your starter. It's like the Jeff Hostetler type of effect.
Mhm.
Yeah, he'd be good as a backup, but as your starter, you'll win some games, but you're not contending for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because remember when the 49ers played the Vikings in the playoffs in that divisional round. He had one good pass to Stephon Diggs, and then after that, he looked pretty pedestrian. He looked pathetic, even though that Nick Bosa and everybody else was sitting there chasing him around. The 49ers took away Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
And so then what happened? He had to learn how to drop back. I believe he threw 2 interceptions. Your boy Richard Sherman was lucky to get one. I don't like Richard Sherman.
I gotta remind myself to get yourself a jersey.
And if you get one, I will RKO you. Don't you dare get that one. But I guess what I'm getting at when it comes to Kirk Cousins, I mean, his numbers look good, but there's certain things. But there is just certain things. It's like, man, are you finally going to get this team over the hump?
He doesn't have it.
Huh?
He doesn't have it. He doesn't.
You got. I'm sitting here thinking about certain things. You got one of the best running backs in the league in Dalvin Cook, even though that he may have been often injured. But that's just the thing. When he's playing, you got to take advantage of this. So, that's just it. I wanted to get into the NCAA and the Heisman Trophy, but I think that's a joke. But I want to save that for next show because the thing is that I think that because I know you're going to go on a tangent about this.
All you got to do is get you something warm to drink, get a pillow for the back of your head, probably get a blanket if you're feeling a little chilly, because I am going on a rant. I'm about to go Eminem Godzilla.
Yeah.
On the freaking NCAA.
So I say next Sunday. Let's go ahead and go about this at the same time because I really want to talk about this because I want to go in on it myself. And I also want to say the Heisman Trophy, because I was thinking about this. It doesn't have that feel like it was when we were a kid. When we were kids, the Heisman Trophy, even though that some Heisman Trophy winners didn't go off to be big NFL stars, but just saying like, oh, this was the Heisman Trophy candidate was just like that. Oh man, this guy is there. Now it just feels like, you just won, like you won the Outland Trophy. Nobody gives a shit. So I mean,
it has lost its luster as far as the feeling, as far as with the certain players, as far as getting getting the opportunity to go to New York and possibly winning the Heisman Trophy, even though there was really typically one person that was a strong favorite that was going to win the whole thing. You may have a couple of them to where you have two players to where you're like, well, they could possibly win it, but then they could possibly win it. But I mean, that's definitely something we're going to have to discuss, next week, have a college football talk because of the fact that, with the changes in college football, with all of this realignment crap and everything, which is destroying basically the last good thing in sports as far as the history, the lore, the watching the games each week, the possible upsets, the great moments, the humongous games, the emotional upsets, the game-winning field goals, the crowd running onto the field type of moments. With this realignment going on, I honestly feel that it's basically destroying football, college football in general.
It definitely is. So next week, let's get together. Let's talk about this. Probably talk about some camp news. Also, what's going in. Anything else that we can talk about, and then we can go from there. So for anger management, this is Sasha, and this is Aaron. We're gonna be signing off. Until next time, get at us. You already know. To follow us on any of our social media. I'm going to put this in the description boxes. Get at us. All right. Talk to y'all later.